the American Dad Podcast.
Yeah, boy.
I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
What's going on, American Dads?
It hurts inside.
How the heck are you? This is Andrew with the American Dad Podcast. And, as I was just starting to get ready for this podcast, writing down my notes and whatnot, I realized what month it is. And it's the month of October. And you're like, yeah, I know it's the month of October. We're getting ready for Halloween and all that kind of good stuff. But more importantly, at least to me, is I'm pretty sure here, and I'm just looking as I'm recording. Let's see, our first episode of the. Well, that's not it. If I was more prepared, the first episode of American Dad Podcast was actually in October of last year, and so we've just hit the 1 year anniversary. In fact, as I'm here, in 4 days. So our first podcast was posted on October 26th, 2012 with Luca, Chris, and myself. We collaborated for, about 6 months on the American Dad Podcast. And then, summer hit and whatnot. And then, the story after that. But, very cool. I mean, 1 year. I think on my other podcast, I'm coming up on 2 years. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to double check with that on the Pride Investigator Advice podcast. But yeah, hey, welcome to the show. Just wanted to share that with you. 1 year in podcasting world. I don't know if that's the norm. If most podcasts make it a year, I'm not quite sure. But I'm happy that we're there. So what's been going on with me? Kind of a big gap in between this podcast and the last one. Basically, a lot of working, trying to catch up on things around the house, and just taking care of the fam. And more recently, we went to. We've been waiting to go to the pumpkin patch. We try to go every year, and it's just a funner experience for us to, get a pumpkin and stuff. And so we shot down to a neighboring town and got in there, and it's all the same stuff. They got the slingshot where you fling little pumpkins, and the little of course you pick your pumpkin out. Hopefully you find one that you like, and take pictures and maybe go on a little maybe a little tractor ride. Who knows? But as we're finishing up with our pumpkin patch experience, there's two things we had left to do: pay for the pumpkins, and we were going to go across the street to the corn maze. It's something we try to do every year. I think I missed it last year. I was working or something, but this year we decided to do it, and so we go to pay, and they're like, okay, well, for these two pumpkins, it's going to be like $4.25. And I'm thinking to myself in my head, that's an amazing deal. I mean, we're getting these pumpkins for next to nothing. And they're not huge pumpkins, but, they're one for my son, one for my daughter. And then I go, oh, wait, we need to do the corn maze. And it was like, oh, okay. And then she's like, for four? We're like, yeah. And it's like, that'll be $30. I'm like, what? $30? Oh my gosh. I didn't say anything, but this is all going in my head. And of course, my wife was having the same thoughts, which she told me, like, "Wow, that's a racket." I guess they got to make their money, of course, but I just was like, "Wow, it's just an incredible amount of money for me to do all the work. I've got to go through the maze. You're not carrying me through that maze." So, needless to say, we did have a fun time on the maze. They had a little, you had to find certain little locations in the map or in the maze, and which made it for fun. So we walk in there and we're all together, my wife and I and my son and daughter, And all of a sudden, like we go to the first location on the map. We didn't have a map, but the first location we were supposed to find, we find it, and we had to punch our cards saying that we had found it. And my son and I look, basically turn around, and my daughter and my wife are gone. I'm like, "Are you serious? Did they just ditch us? Like, what the heck just happened?" Well, my wife and daughter, they are very much about winning, and they're very competitive. And for some reason, without telling us, they decided to be competitive about, make it to all these different locations. And literally, like my son and I turned the corner and they were gone. And come to find out after, when it was all said and done, and they won, that they were like literally whispering like, "Hey, let's go. Let's get out of here. Let's go do this." And just me and my son. But we had a good time. Me and my son, kind of did it at our own pace, and it was fun, needless to say. So that was our pumpkin patch experience. I definitely, you can definitely do a pumpkin patch experience if you're already going to buy a pumpkin anyways. And if you have a patch around you, like, someone that's doing that, so usually it's the farmers or, whatever, much better experience. Even if you don't spend any money other than just getting the pumpkin, I think it's fun, much more fun to do that than to just go to the grocery store and pick one up. I would save that for like the last minute, like, oh, we need some extra pumpkins. Let's go to the grocery store. But the pumpkin patch experience is definitely cool. I didn't do that as a kid. I don't even know if they had that. I'm sure they did, but that wasn't something we did as a family. But I'm glad that we're doing it now. I think it's fun. Fun for all. So anyways, what else? Lots of stuff I want to talk about regarding some of the blogs that I wrote I don't think about a month ago. And I actually like writing these blogs ahead of time because it kind of gives me more to elaborate on. And then if I don't even elaborate on it all, you can still go back to the blog and check out the more detailed writing of it. So I think it was my friend Kyle who shared a post with me, and it was one of those posts that even as I was preparing for the show, my eyes were welling up with tears. Like it just it affects me for some reason more than other. And then I got to talk to my buddy afterwards after he'd shared this with me, and it affected him deeply too. And it's a story it's an old story actually, and I don't know why I don't have television, and I don't always seek out news articles and stuff like that. But it was about a soldier named Benjamin Wise, Sergeant First Class Benjamin Wise. And this gentleman, this soldier, died January 9th, 2012 from injuries while fighting overseas here. And he had been in the military for 12 years. A family man, married, has kids. I think he has like 3 or 4 kids. I'm not quite sure. And he was on his 4th deployment when he was injured and died. So, and there's more to this story, but in regards to, he has brothers that are in the military, and 2 of which I think have also died serving their country. I thought it was just impressive in general that his whole family was serving the country. I don't know. I know that veterans, they appreciate so much because they can resonate. They were like, okay, I was there. I know what you're going through, soldier. Maybe they didn't participate in a war when they were in, but they know what other families go through, and they can relate to some aspect. Now, I wasn't in the military. I was in the military, but I wasn't in the military during wartime. In fact, I had gotten 9/11 happened 6 months before the end of my contract when I was in the military. And most of my friends were all getting out at the same time. But back to the story here, Sergeant First Class Benjamin Wise, his wife, after he's died, he passed, and his son was at home, and there's a large picture of Sergeant First Class Benjamin Wise behind a chair. It was on the floor, and his this man's son snuck behind the couch, and there's a picture of him. just staring at his dad in this picture. And see if I can find the caption here. His mom shared this. The mother shared this and said his mom caught him spending time with his dad who died fighting in Afghanistan. And I don't know, there's something about this picture. I almost got to stop looking at it. Anyways, first of all, I need to talk about it because, you know, I didn't have a family when I was in the military. I mean, I didn't have a wife, I didn't have kids, but I had friends that did. And if there's anything I want you to get from anything I'm talking about right now is, you know, go say thank you to a veteran. It's not Veterans Day, but every day is Veterans Day. Those guys are not, I mean, they're always working. They're working 24/7. They're on call at all times to go and defend this country or to make sure that we're safe at home. And be grateful for them. If you see them, just say, hey, I just want to thank you. It doesn't matter if you know them. Just say thank you. It's not Veterans Day, but you can still say thank you. If you're an employer, hire a veteran. Take care of them when they get out. You know, obviously you want to get yourself a good veteran, but give them a chance. Give them a chance to show what they can do. They're most like never before. I mean, I've seen veterans just always think out of the box. It's just they're almost forced to do so all the time, so they kind of get used to it. And veterans are away from their family all the time, and there's this thing that we don't think about, like the effects of the family in general. Like these dads, they go away for 6 months or a year at a time, and all the brunt of the responsibility is put on these moms to raise that family, and guide and lead their kids, and it's tough, but this is what they've decided to do. They've decided to volunteer to protect us, to serve their country, and it takes a toll on their family. And even more when you have, the child like this who's lost his dad's not going to be able to throw football with him anymore or teach him anything. He's given that up. Not given it up, or he's lost that chance because he was serving our country and died. I just think, it's when I'm always talking about, gosh, just enjoy this time you have with your kids. It's so precious. I mean, this is a perfect example of how precious it is. And you don't have to be in the military, for it to be gone like that. You don't have to die fighting in a war for it to be gone like that. It can be gone like that. You just walk it down the street. So just enjoy every moment of it. And if you guys want to check out that article, if anything, just look at the picture. It's the most heart-wrenching picture. Anytime I even look at it or think about it, it really pulls on my heartstrings that this little boy is missing his dad, and he's just sitting there, just staring at his dad in the picture. Just, I don't know, it's incredible. So take a look at that. Actually, if you watch the video of this podcast, I'm going to put it up here somewhere. And yeah, and there's some other great stories that are more in depth about this man. And I just thank all the veterans. Just thank anybody who's serving this country. Thank them. Okay, on to some more light-hearted topics here. We have I came across an article. I don't think it was like a month ago, and the article is probably older than that. It's about a man who decided to embarrass his daughter a little bit. I dropped my pen here. So I guess they were going out as a family, and his daughter came out. His teenage daughter came out in these Daisy Dukes that were a little more revealing than he wished. And I'm paraphrasing the story here, but essentially he asked his daughter to change, and she refused to do so. And so what he decided to do was go take a pair of jeans, cut them ridiculously short, and wear those jeans, Daisy Dukes, if you will, out and about as they went to dinner, and they did whatever that night. And it got me to thinking, I've got younger children, so this isn't something that I have to No, I don't deal with it just yet. And more, with the boys, what do you have to really worry about, right? Like my son, I don't have to worry about him dressing provocatively at all. And if you have all boys, congratulations. It's probably not going to be something you have to deal with. But with your daughters, you do. And again, like I said, my daughter isn't well, first of all, she's not challenging us on stuff like that, provocative wear. She doesn't think like that. She's not seeking the attention of boys or attention like that in that manner yet. Let's hope she never does. Cross my fingers there. But, it kind of brought me back to memory. And I think I had a conversation with my mom one time, and it was in regards to my sister. So this is 20 years ago. I might have been a teenager, or maybe I was 18 or 19. And it was there. She was saying stuff to my mom was telling me about how they were going shopping, they were taking her school shopping or whatever, and she was choosing these outfits that didn't entirely cover her up. Now it wasn't provocative per se, but it was just like, hey, let's cover you up. Maybe we don't need to see your belly button or whatever the case was. I can't remember the conversation exactly. But, and then, so, they were arguing, I guess, or at least butting heads on these outfits. And then as my mother walked around the mall with my dad, she started to see that everybody was dressing that way. Now, again, this is 20 years ago or so. And she just came to the conclusion, like, well, that's just the style. And, and maybe in her day, in the 70s, it was the bell bottoms and, I don't know. Their outfits at the time, I'm sure, were provocative, at least in their eyes. But what I'm seeing now these days is that, these stores they're not making clothes for kids. They're just basically shrinking down adult clothes and throwing them on, they're selling them like that. They're selling adult fitting, adult cut, or whatever you want to call it, clothes, and they're just stamping it and saying these are kids' clothes. And so, I guess when you're dressing your kids, and I don't want to judge you as a parent or judge anybody as a parent, but more or less like open up the thought process on this, or open up a dialect on our daughters, and dressing them as, how do you want your kid to be perceived? And that's probably a conversation I'm going to have with my daughter is, how do you want people to see you? Because we know that, there's a lot of girls that are teenagers that dress provocatively because they're seeking attention, not the right attention. And there's a perception that boys will have of these girls. The more risque that a girl might dress, the more they might think that, I don't know, she's less respectful, and they don't have to be respectful of her. And I'm trying to use very creative language here, but I think you get the idea. And so when I think about this issue, I think about my daughter, and this time will come, and I'll probably talk about it again, as those years approach. But I guess, let me bring up one more thing before I tell you how I'm going to deal with it. When I found my wife, she loves fashion. Okay. And, even in her early adult years, she always dressed in style. But she never dressed in a manner that was, I don't know, indecent, or she was never trying to overly show her skin. She just wanted to dress very respectful of herself, and then when we were dating, of course, I took that as she was being respectful to me. Why did that she need to dress in a inappropriate manner? Who would she be trying to impress other than me? But I never had to say that. It just happened. And I always remember that. So I'm hoping, my wife, will just doesn't necessarily have to say anything, but will just have that influence on my daughter. Like, this is the appropriate way to dress, as a teenager or whatever. You can still be cute. You don't have to wear, Daisy Dukes and show off a ton of skin or whatever to get that attention. You can still dress cute and, be pretty without dressing that way. So, here's how I plan on dealing with it. Hopefully I give my daughter enough attention to where she never seeks attention in that manner. Or that's not the route that she goes. I'm hoping, you know, that she doesn't have to go in those different directions. I guess I should have to say. And as a dad, I'm always gonna be trying to protect their heart. And I hope I never have to deal with her wearing Daisy Dukes. Hopefully it's just because I'm going to be buying all her clothes so we get to choose, right? So, I don't know. If you have a story where you've had to battle your kid, let me know, your teenager or whatever. I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to know how you dealt with it. I don't know that every way that I'm dealing with my kids or my family is going to be the best. I like to think it is, right? I think we all like to think it is, but it doesn't hurt as dads to, and parents in general, just to kind of keep our minds open in the sense of, is there a better way to do this? It doesn't mean you have to, because you hear something else, it means you have to do it, but it's just kind of like just something to think about. Sometimes you just resonate on things, and then, you make decisions as a parent. As a parent, I take things that I learned from my dad and mom, and I've evolved on it. What I think is better, or or what I didn't agree with, what they did, I do. I try to do. And the same thing I think goes for everybody if they just think about it. I'm sure there's parents out there that just go, well, my dad did it this way, and so I'm doing it this way, even though it might not be the best way. But yeah, whatever. What else we got here? I think that's it. I think that's all we're going to do for today. Today's a light podcast. So yeah, there are some things I'll be talking about in the future here. I got some blog posts and all that kind of good stuff to come out soon, and that just means more podcast talk. This podcast is brought to you by Audible. If you guys want to go get some books on audio, you can use them. They have an app for your iPhone, which I use. So basically, I'll order my books through Audible, and then I will just basically download them to my phone through their app. And I'm currently listening to Game of Thrones. I sit in my car a lot, so I have the opportunity to just sit there and listen to things. And I took a break from Game of Thrones because it's a very good book, but I think I was just kind of getting information out. But now I'm back onto it. I started listening to it again and still enjoying it. It's just a really well written book. If you're interested in Audible, they're giving away a free book. It's a free trial, a free book for like a month. And if you don't like it, you just cancel, keep the book, no big deal. And if you want to check that out, you can go to audibletrial.com/American Dad Podcast. So that's audibletrial.com/American Dad Podcast. And that will get you the offer for the free book. And it will help support the show. So I just want to thank you guys for listening. And stay tuned for more episodes. The 1-year anniversary is this month. I'm kind of stoked about that. Maybe I'll release another podcast on the actual anniversary date. So check that out. Maybe I'll have a super long podcast or something, and we'll go over some stuff. Who knows? But yeah, thank you guys for listening, and I hope to talk to you guys again soon. And with that being said, you guys deserve some outro music, I'm assuming. See here. And just remember, all these videos can be seen on the American Dad Podcast website at americandadpodcast.com. You can also check us out on YouTube at AD Podcast. That's the YouTube channel. You can check that out, so you can watch the video and see the pictures on it and whatnot. And that's about it. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.